All right, let's talk about what just happened on Steam, because it is a huge mess. Recently, a brand new law in the UK kicked in, and it's caused absolute chaos on one of the world's biggest gaming platforms. A system that was supposed to protect kids has ended up just breaking things for millions of adults.
So here's the central question, right? Imagine waking up one day and finding you're just locked out. A huge number of perfectly legitimate adult gamers in the UK suddenly can't buy mature games, they can't access parts of their own game libraries, they can't even get into some community discussions. So what on earth happened?
Well, it all comes down to this number, 32%. That's how many adults in the UK don't have a credit card. And that one little piece of plastic is now the only key that Valve, the company behind Steam, will accept to prove you're old enough to buy a video game. Now you have to ask yourself, why would Valve do this? I mean, why would a gigantic company intentionally block almost a third of its potential adult customers in a huge market like the UK? Well, the answer is, they were staring down the barrel of a UK law with some seriously big teeth.
And that law is called the Online Safety Act. Now, its goal is pretty straightforward: protect kids online. And to do that, it forces big global tech companies to put really strong age checks in place for any kind of mature or adult content. This isn't just a friendly suggestion, it's a legal demand that puts all the responsibility right on the platforms themselves.
And a penalty for getting this wrong? It's not just some slap on the wrist, it's a fine of up to 10% of a company's global annual revenue. For a company the size of Valve, that's a potential fine in the billions of dollars. So yeah, when you're faced with that kind of threat, you're going to do something.
Okay, so with this massive financial threat looming over them, Valve had to come up with a solution, and they had to do it fast. So let's look at the fix they came up with, and how that's led to the mess we have today.
So Valve's answer to this whole thing was credit card verification. The logic seems simple enough, right? In the United Kingdom, you have to be at least 18 years old to get a credit card. So their thinking was, if you have a credit card hooked up to your Steam account, you must be an adult. Problem solved. Or so they thought.
And honestly, you can see why they went down this path. It wasn't just a quick fix, it was actually pretty clever. The UK's own regulator, a group called Ofcom, had already said this method was highly effective. Plus, and this is a big one, it was good for user privacy because it used payment info Steam already had. No need to upload your driver's license or passport. And as a little bonus, it basically turned the credit card companies into the new bouncers at the door.
So, on the surface, it seems like a pretty decent solution. It's regulator approved, it respects user privacy, it should work. But, and this is a big but, when we actually started poking at it and testing it, the whole thing just completely falls apart. Which really brings us to the most important question of all. After all this chaos, after blocking millions of people, does this new system even do what the law was designed for? Does it actually stop kids from seeing mature content? The short answer is no, not even close.
We tested this out ourselves with a totally unverified account, and you won't believe the loopholes. You can't click on an individual game store page, sure, but you can go right to the adult-only genre page. And once you're there, trailers for these games just start auto-playing. Screenshot galleries pop up when you hover your mouse. You're seeing the exact content that's supposed to be blocked. And it gets worse. If a game has a demo, you can install it right from that page, completely sidestepping the age gate.
And this really shines a light on the difference in approach here. You look at other platforms like Discord, and you see they built these more detailed, tiered systems to deal with the law. They have different levels like adult, teen, and unverified. Valve, probably because it was faster and cheaper, just went with a simple on-off switch, a binary system that, as we've seen, is full of holes. So let's talk about the consequences. Because this rushed, leaky system has created this massive ripple effect. It's affecting users, it's affecting game developers, and it might just be affecting the future of an open internet in the UK. So what does this actually mean for a regular gamer who just happens to not use a credit card? Well, it's not just about not being able to buy new games. People are reporting that they can't even get to the store pages for games they already own, which means they can't buy DLC, they can't buy expansions, and they can't even post a review. They're being locked out of parts of their very own library. And this quote from a user just perfectly captures how frustrating this all is. You could have a Steam account that's literally 20 years old, an account that is itself an adult, and all of a sudden you're being treated like a kid and have to prove your age to a service you've been using for decades.
And it's not just the players who are getting hurt. This is having a real chilling effect on game developers too. To try and lower its own risk, Valve is now apparently telling some developers of adult games that they can't use the early access program anymore. That's a huge deal,
because that program is how a lot of independent studios get funding to finish their games.
So what's the big takeaway here? You have the Online Safety Act, a law created with the good intention of protecting people, but its clumsy, rushed implementation on a massive platform has given us a system that doesn't actually block the content it's supposed to, while at the same time punishing millions of regular adult users. And it really makes you ask a bigger question. Does this kind of heavy-handed regulation actually make the internet any safer? Or does it just make people find workarounds, pushing them toward less secure, unmoderated corners of the web to get what they want? It's a really messy end result, and for now, it's the gamers in the UK who are paying the price.